在我们面前，曾经有一个机会。
这场比赛，京东 Gaming 已经做得足够好了，
但我们没有抓住它。
在我面前，曾经有一个机会，但那时我还不够强。
我等了4年，终于等来这个机会。
今天之前，有血迹的我已经在这里奋战了4年。
大招直接把后排摧毁，
大招拉回来了，
布局到4个人，文娇闪过来，EQ 再一次要收割了。
看看这赛场吧，时代变了。
说的没错，我们的巅峰到了。
京东正在书写他们的黑八传奇啊！
哎呦，大招闪现给到了
DJ 被秒了，这波对比打得太果断了。
打败你们，凤凰的羽翼会更加繁盛。
不要忘记，天使与黑鸭也有翅膀。
To the top begins. All of our teams here are going to be looking for their first LPL victory. And of course, first we had to go through our MVP voting. This may not be a surprise to everyone because we have posted the winner on our Twitter, and it's going to be Doinby. So we'll be seeing that in a little bit. Of course, Doinby also voted #1 in the all LPL team, so he's had an incredibly impressive split. So before that, we're just going to take a look at this. We're going to toss it over in a bit to Clement for translation. But in the meantime, let's talk about what's at stake here today. Everyone is going to be making it to Rift Rivals at the very least. But MSI is up next. We're going to see how Doinby got to his MVP victory now.
断剑重铸之日，骑士归来之时。
哇，想要直接拼单杀吗？大招有点火，小兵好像还补了一下伤害。剑魔上来稍微绑到了一下，但是凯南大招闪现进场，然后电死了杰斯。杰斯被电倒的话 ，BOG 感觉已经无力抵抗。来先过来要开跑，被秒了，打人不是一样。
Doinby 这场比赛，你不得不说表现得太好了。
闪现上去选择硬锤加一个加里奥大招，这一次是把所有人都给控住了。
投降吧！
在这个大龙棒感觉顶不过去了，这边的话李尚竹大招给到自己跳到人队里面，中路他的血量也不高，一次就直接被拍到的情况下，没有选择直接拆，李尚竹拿到3杀。
可惜可惜。
And now we're going to have the MVP interview, and to take it away is our MVP of the broadcast team. He's the caster, he's the interviewer, he's the translator, the one and only Clement Chu.
Hello everyone, and I will be translating for Luoxing today. Congratulations to our MVP winner, Doinby. This is your second non-consecutive MVP of the LPL so far. It's already been 2 years. You finally won another MVP for the regular split. How do you feel inside? I'm super happy. Thanks for everyone who voted for me. You have very good selection, very good taste in your players. Thanks for my organization, to my coaches, to my family, to all of my team members, and to all my fans. I love you all. I want to give you a big kiss. It seems like you've learned a lot of welcomes from Gimgu. Now, you've been in the LPL since 2015. You've been in playoffs many times before, only once in finals though. And it does seem like you have never actually won the championship though. This time, it's been the best regular split performance for you with your teammates. You've led this team.
发起冲击。这次
You're finally heading towards the championship. Do you have confidence that you'll make it this time?
今天的比赛再说。
Doinby's answer is, we'll see what happens today. No final answer for now. Tian has also got a lot of MVP votes. He's currently sitting at 3rd place. Do you have some words for him, for your good friend and your good teammate, Tian? You are the best. Another big kiss for you. Do you keep on kissing your team members? Is that the way you communicate with them now? Doinby said yes. Now we're going to have TJ Sports CEO Bobby to present the MVP award.
我们也看到了这个赛季在Doinby加入到了 FunPlus 之后呢
We've seen this split with Doinby arriving at FPX. All of his team members and the coaches and the managers, they worked so hard to make this a successful split. It's been very good in terms of the results in their record. We want to give a big thank you to Bobby for presenting the award. Please take a seat. Doinby, please don't go anywhere. We're going to finish this MVP presentation award. We will now welcome our players to the stage. The matchup will be FPX, the Phoenix Rising against JD Gaming, the dark horse of the playoffs. Now please welcome the remaining 4 members of FPX. Top laner Gimgoon, Jungler Tian, LWX and Chris in the bot lane.
这其实应该是我们彩虹队立下 flag 实现之后第一次跟大家见面，对吧？
Hostess is calling them a rainbow team because they change all their hair. Who actually has the best hairdo now? Chris says he doesn't know.
比赛里面的实力，对吧？那今天我们老规矩来到这里，还是要给自己的对手说上几句
Please tell us something that is addressed to your opponents. Oh, Chris is going well. I hope that they have a fun time on April 17th, which is the 3rd place match. Chris says that he will send them some awards, but only in stream, not in the actual tournament. Now please go to your seats and prepare for the upcoming match. Tough words right there. It's actually pretty rare to hear LPL players go for the hard trash talk. Let's now welcome JD Gaming to the stage. Top laner Zoom, jungler Flawless, mid laner Yagao, bot laner Imp, and support Lu Mao. They just told you to prepare for the 17th, for the 3rd place match. What do you have to say to FPX? So actually, Miguel's going for a different track. He's saying that FPX, when you guys go to MSI, can you please bring us back some presents from Vietnam? So that's kind of an interesting tack right there. JD Gaming, they don't want to blow their own horn, going for the humble route. We hope all the players can give us great performances today. We hope that's going to be a great semifinals. We're then going to hand it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you, Clement. Thank you, Luo Xin. A beautiful set of interviews. Some interesting things were said. But first off, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Matt Niberia Clendaniel, joined by Barento Muhammad, a.k.a. Raz, and our 3rd guest, the man, the myth, the legend. You may know him as the former Worlds finalist. You may know him as a former coach. Tabe is going to be here joining us today.
Hi, guys. I'm Tabe.
We're so excited to have him on board today. And guys, before we get into talking about today's matchup, FPX versus JDG, let's talk a little bit about how they got here. Let's take a look at the playoffs bracket, see exactly how everything shook out.
Yeah, JD getting past WE was a surprising point for a lot of analysts, for me in particular, because I had just honed into the bottom side of the map and said that was going to be a pure weakness for them. But not only did they take down Mystic, who is already, first team MVP in the AD carry position, and then they went past Uzi as well. So JD's been coming in as the most complete team so far on this side of the bracket.
Of course, if you look at the right side of the bracket, we have Sino Dragons, that 3-0, but they were taken down 3-0 in turn by TOP. So our other semifinal, which is going to be up tomorrow, is going to be IG versus TOP. But now let's get into today's matchup a little bit. JDG versus FPX. Now, a lot of you, if you've only joined us for the playoffs so far, haven't gotten a chance to see FPX. They, of course, had those 2-round buys. So, Raz, why don't we run them through a little bit exactly how FPX plays?
It's a first place strategy for them. I mean, if you're watching this team, a lot of the times it starts in the mid lane, and it really is just about Doumbé and Tien rotating around the map. You already look towards, of course, mid lane jungle proximity is the highest in the league. And on top of that, one of the major stats that come through is the fact that Doumbé's leading in the kill participation stat, because the moment they get shoved in mid lane, either through Lissandro or the Galio in this instance, they find themselves rotating to the side lanes. And this game in particular, this was when really early on, I think this is when week 3 when they went up against JDG. Now, Flawless was on the right side of the map. He was prepared for this strategy, but unfortunately just wasn't able to help out because A, came in a little later, but Yagao also was just slow to the uptake. And it's very difficult when you lose mid lane shove. So in this series, they went top side to help Gimgoon. But far more recently, going into the playoffs, they've been actually moving that towards the bottom side of the map and making it so LWX and Crisp, get an early lead, unlock Crisp so he can start roaming and getting, providing vision there alongside Tien. So I want to see how FPX are able to rotate their mid lane control. Remember, it was RNG and IG that challenged them right at the laning phase. They said that actually we're not going to allow Doumbé to leave, and that seemed to be the successful strategy. I wonder if that's what we're going to be seeing coming out of JDG.
And Tabe, we were talking a little bit earlier about how that mid-jungle synergy was something that you felt was an important factor for FPX coming into this series.
Yeah, just now we can see that Doumbé and Tien was picking Galio and Xin Chao, and everyone knows that Nocturne and Sui have a better late game. But what Doumbé is good is he knows that the early game advantage is far stronger than Sui, and we can see that Raz just now said that the shoving power of Doumbé, you can see he's running all around the map, and this is what implies that they have the highest synergy rate of the mid jungle.
Yeah, and that roaming potential is really important, especially for FPX in this series. And one of the things that you highlighted earlier on talking about these teams was how JDG have had a bit of a playstyle shift, and they've started putting a little bit more attention towards the bottom lane with their bot lane of Imp and Luma.
Only because they've been performing, and that's what was the most surprising fact to me, is that when we started off the playoffs, it started out with JDG versus WE. In Game 1, we said that Mystic would have power through the bottom side of the map, but they didn't even get to the point where WE was sending their jungler down to the bottom side when the 2v2 kill came off. So that was the most important thing for me, because remember, Imp and Lumao, starting out this split, actually died a lot in 2v2s, that they couldn't get out of the laning phase without a personal deficit. But now they're able to get out of there. You're starting to see Flawless actually path towards the bottom side of the map far more frequently. I had pegged JDG to be a one-style focused team of getting Zoom ahead alongside, Flawless and Yagao, to be focusing to the top side of the map and hope that Imp and Lumao don't get themselves in too large of a deficit. But now they've seemed to be a far more complete team with their bottom side of the map starting to work out for themselves.
And Tabe, we were talking a little bit earlier as well about this bottom laning. You think this is a strong point now for JDG, especially in the drafting phase? We've seen a lot of changes there and a little bit of consistency in their strategy.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that JDG is doing really well with their Kai'Sa. And either red side or blue side, they will like picking Kai'Sa every game. And if even enemy pick Kai'Sa, they will use Vayne. But they often prefers getting Kai'Sa really early. And we can note that all the support champions that JDG prefers are all initiating champions. Fiddlesticks, Gragas, Leona, Galio, and Alistar. And they all have really good synergy with Kai'Sa. So it is very predictable that today FPX will be banning Kai'Sa or something new to see to counter Kai'Sa.
Yeah, that'll be real fun. I think that what we're seeing out of the bottom lane from FPX, far more often we're seeing the Kalista that will do well versus the Kai'Sa in that matchup, and then they have been pathing towards the bottom side. So that's why I'm really interested to see if JDG comes into the series with something new, because I think in terms of what they're currently comfortable playing with, that FPX should naturally be able to counter out the JDG bottom side of the map, where even if Imp and Lumao are coming in strongly, they'll turn up to a 2v2 or a 3v3, but Doumbé, Flawless will already be there to kind of counter that out. So Doumbé and Tien, that is. So I just expect them to be in the bottom side, just pressuring Imp a little bit too much.
All right, well, let's talk about our predictions for this match as we get ready to go into it. I'm going to be the odd man out here. I think that Jingdong has a chance. I have the faith, Raz. They got me a prediction last series. They can do it again today.
All right, okay. Well, what do you got?
I really have faith in Doinb, and I really want him to win the championship for first time. And I also trust Crisp and LWX will find their way to counter the Kai'Sa and to tackle it.
Yeah.
So my vote is for FPX.
Boom. And I think I would agree with you, because I think consistency for FPX has just been a standard. They were the first place team for a reason coming into this series. And for JDG, they've been surprising us. But I already made a mention of the fact that I think stylistically, they do very well versus JDG. So JDG has to show me something new.
All right, well, 2 for FPX, 1 for JD. We're going to see how it shakes out. But first, let's throw it over to the casters for game number 1, Pick Ban.
Yes, thank you very much, Niberian. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the start of the semi-finals here in the LPL for 2019 Spring. My name's Jake Asterix Ozipenko, joined by Mr. Clement Chu, interviewer, translator, host. He does everything here, and now he's going to join me for the rest of the cast with JDG and FPX, a series that cannot be underestimated. And Clement, just to touch on what they said on the desk just before, the Kai'Sa in this series and maybe seeing new picks. Well, Kai'Sa's played by both ends and is also LWX's best champion.
Yeah, if you think about the matchup, it really should be about how FPX shut down the strong points that JD Gaming have shown in their surprise upsets against W and JD and RNG. But before that, let's go through the rosters.
Yeah, that's right. Strong roster here. Gimgoon, Tian, Doinb, LWX, and Crisp. This is what you should know, because with FPX, their roster is pretty stock standard. No change-ups here going into semifinals.
And if you just noticed, they called them the Rainbow Team because they shaved all of their hair, they changed their hair color, and now we have JD Gaming, Zoom Flawless, Yagao, Imp, and Lumo.
So let's come back to that 80 carry point, because I know in this series there'll be a lot of focus on the solo lanes of JDG. That's what we know them for, but LWX and Crisp, there's been a lot to be said here for the side of FPX, that they have been stable, and with Imp and Lumao playing better, then you have to say, okay, well, the bottom lane is not insignificant coming up here in the semifinals.
I definitely think that FPX are going to show us a new leaf compared to WE and RNG. Both of those former teams that went up against JD Gaming, they were 80 carry centric. Yep. They played the Vayne, they played for hyper carry, they played for late game, but FPX is different. They play a lot of Varus, they play a lot of Lucian. Their main thing is about getting lane priority. They want to shove you in lane rather than just scale it out. So I think that's going to be the main difference in the lane matchup, and I think this is going to be the first time it will really be challenged in an 80 carry to 80 carry matchup.
And remember, if we're talking about the 80 carry matchup, we have to bring up Doinb right here, because it's going to be influenced by FPX. Bottom lane turret dives, bottom lane roams here from the mid 2v2, and Doinb has had such a stellar season that it's no surprise that he was the LPL Spring MVP.
And this is his second MVP to boot. Whatever team he goes to, he brings the Doinb style. You can see on the stats sheet right there, what he's really known for is being a main initiator. You think of other mid laners, yep. They're mainly about providing a sustained source of AP damage, but not Doinb. Doinb actually is more about initiation and shot calling for his team. He was not known as the best individual player, but he's the best team player we have in the LPL.
And let's not forget, we just saw there, the champion pool of Doinb is so huge. So just coming back to the basics, 15 champions picked up by this mid laner in the regular season. And this being FPX's first game in playoffs, for JDG, it's going to be testing, because it's not their first. They're making the miracle run, and it's on the back of this man right here.
And just look at Zoom stats. #1 across the board. He is the most resource-intensive and most damage output player in the entire playoffs that we have so far. Yep. He had a 10-0-7 game to close off the series versus RNG on that Kayle. Also 100% win rate on Swain. I actually had an interview with Doinb just a little bit earlier before his playoff run, and he said that Zoom is going to be the focal point of the matchup. Gimgoon has to stand up to him, and he has to shut him down. That's the win condition that FPX have.
Yeah, on your face-to-face, I loved how Doinb was still quite confident about the matchup, but he knew the serious part about it, and that is Zoom, as you just mentioned there before. Resource-intensive, but also, for someone like Tian, he's very flexible, so the ability to shut down that top lane is still very viable here from FPX, and we know that for Tian, he has a wide champion pool himself.
And he's the premier AP jungler that we have. He picks champions for the tower dive. So a lot of Gragas, a lot of Elise. If he and Doinb can start the roams, they always find the first blood. He has a 71% first first blood rate, the highest among all players in the LPL.
Yeah.
And when IG played against them, Rookie said the #1 thing you have to notice when you're playing against FPX is the side lane tower dive. They did that multiple times in their set versus JD Gaming. We just saw on the analyst desk clips of that. Zoom played his worst professional game against FPX. Tower dove 3 times, solo killed a Akali versus Gangplank matchup.
It's a very different matchup. Remember, JDG so far have had the miracle run, and Zoom has been playing some of his best League of Legends. So coming against FPX, there has not been a better time for JDG to show how much they're flourishing. We are taking a look at the bottom side of the map because that was the issue coming into playoffs, but no longer after their performance against WE and RNG with some of the best AD carries in the league.
Imp really showed up on the day. We thought that the bot lane was going to collapse for JD Gaming. He was playing up against Mystic, against Uzi, teams that really focus on their bottom lane, while JD Gaming traditionally plays more towards the top side. That was not the case. He got the resources and the backing from his jungler, from his mid laner, so they really set Imp up to succeed, and you can see him returning the favor. All of his damage stats are up. He's still that stable late game insurance plan that they have. They just put him on Kai'Sa, let him do work.
That's right. Put them on the Kai'Sa, put them on something that's scaling and that can play a passive lane if need be. Imp, Luomao, like, great performance so far for JDG. We still look at LWX and Crisp. They are playing out of their mind in the regular season. There's a lot of folks, they're like, get off me. It's all right. It's not about me. It's about Doumbé.
Yeah, that's Doombee's wife right there.
If you didn't know, is a couple of cute signs we're seeing in the audience as well. But Doumbé, look, successful off the Rift, also successful on the Rift to keep in mind. For this matchup specifically, there'll be a lot of talk about the mid 2v2. That's why we'll transition away from the bottom lane. But for Doumbé, this is a good chance to show that that first place finish in the regular split is not just for show.
Oh yeah, Doumbé has had great regular season splits, but so far he hasn't really advanced in playoffs in the last 3 years. The first time he goes into a playoff, the first series, he typically loses. So he does have that stigma against him. Now, I don't think it's mainly his fault. He's ran into a lot of rebuilding teams, a forfeit even from QG. So it's not all on his shoulders, but a lot of the times the community still does question whether his shot calling playstyle, whether his playstyle that revolves on surprising the enemy team can work in the playoff environment.
That's right.
He has to show it this time. I think there a lot of it is riding on Doumbé. It's going to be about his legacy. Can he carry a team further than just regular split?
He's been on so many teams as well. You talk about QG Reapers. You know, we have Doumbé transitioning over to JDG at 1.2.
Yep.
And then when we move forward now on FPX, previously Rogue Warriors, we say, is this the team that makes the debut to the grand final, also makes its way onto the international stage? As we head into game #1 here at the semifinals, JDG and FPX, it's one against the other. Both mid laners trying to prove themselves. Both teams trying to make it all the way, as we do see our Kalista locked in on the blue side.
Oh, so this is one of the strongest AD carries that we have currently in the meta, and it's almost been completely banned out in the playoffs so far. Nobody has really gotten a pick onto Kalista, and the champions that counter Kalista, we're thinking about the Tristana, are not really taken by JD Gaming and Imp particularly. Imp actually has a fairly limited champion pool. He's only played 6 champions so far, so FPX are trying to clamp down on that position.
And I like how FPX on the blue side, already previously mentioned by Tabe, the Kai'Sa is banned away from JDG's side. They go a step further and ban Imp's other successful champion in the vein, so already change in AD carries for both sides. But for JDG, it's the SKT first game lock-in that we see in the Rise and the jungle.
And this is all about shutting down Doumbé, a CC chain that cannot be avoided. They want to stop Doumbé from roaming early. Now, FPX did lose twice in the regular split to RNG and TOP, and I think the RNG series is what really demonstrated how to beat this team. You just shut him down with support roam, with top roam, with jungle constantly ganking him. He has the highest kill participation on the team. If you can stop Doumbé from arriving on a side lane, then you shut down FPX's early game.
It also, for JDG, denies Doumbé's best champion in the Rise, while Yagao picks up his worst. 0-7 on this Rise. Has not won during the regular season, nor in playoffs when he picked it up the first time. But with the Morgana now locked in for FPX, we know a flex is potential.
Yeah, this should be a support Morgana that we're seeing right here. This is a champion that JD Gaming has been banning through playoffs quite frequently. It really counters their style. Morgana, a great counter initiator, while on the other side, JD Gaming, they do like to gamble. They gamble a ton with your support roams. They try to catch you out of position. They're a very high tempo team, so Morgana does shut a lot of that down. Great drafting coming in from Warhorse.
Okay, so with the Morgana locked in, transition over to the other side. I said we'd see new AD carries. The Varus here coming through for Imp, so already a bit of a surprise. I'm getting angry there as well. So first game of playoffs here for FPX, and Warhorse looking pretty calm as well.
I've been calling for VARs to be picked more in the LPL. We were one of the latest regions to come into 9.6, and it's all been about Kai'Sa, all been about Vayne, but VARs has been popping off in multiple regions. Still very good in the bottom lane, wins his lane most of the time, and it's going to stop FPX from pushing into their tower. They don't want them to set up those dives, so they're forcing Imp to select something new, go on to something he has not selected for playoffs, just to counter the matchup that FPX are throwing.
Remember as well, we still have a flexible build with the VAR, so I like that in the past you've brought this up. Flexibility in the bottom lane has been more the style of JDG, if need be, especially on the support position. You see the first ban of the second phase, the Fiddlesticks you love so much, Clement.
He's the only player to pick Fiddlesticks on 9.6, and boy oh boy was it a treat. He is so good on the champion, and he plays his very risky style. He's actually willing to go into the enemy jungle, just sit in a brush for a minute, and pop out of nowhere. That's the way Luma wants to play. I still expect him to go onto a engaged champion, but taking away Fiddlesticks is really important because you want that Morgana to be able to push in the wave, and that AP damage coming in from the Fiddle might disrupt it.
But it's only the one support ban here for FPX. You go towards Zoom's best champion on the Yorick. Now, that is arguable after the last series against RNG. The Kayle is available if need be here for JDG, but it is game one. We know that was the flexibility of that final game against Royal Never Give Up, but JDG going a bit safer and towards the bottom lane in the Tahm Kench.
Yeah, the Tahm Kench is the stock standard answer towards the Morgana. The Tongue Lash, you can get her Black Shield down.
That's very
true.
true.
Is considered, you have more regen as well, so it is considered quite a good counter to it, but FPX are throwing a curveball. They're saying that this Morgana, which we typically see with the Dark Spear on Kalista as a combo that you just throw the Morgana in, they're not actually going for that. They're actually swapping the Morgana towards mid lane, and this will be Doinby's first game on the pick so far.
That's right. Number 16, Clement. So the champion pool widens once again, even here in playoffs, in just game one alone for FPX, but we still need an answer for the top side because at the moment, you do not know where the Rise is going. So what is the safety here for Gimgoon?
That's really important to mention in the matchup because Rise is a flex pick for Zoom as well. Has played it before, and on the other hand, Yagao, I think he needs more early action from Yagao to really make this matchup work. Rise also quite a good matchup into the Kennen, so it is a very real possibility that he will go into that. The other answer would be something like the Jace, which surprisingly is open. So no, they're actually just going to send the Rise towards the top, Corki into the mid lane against the Morgana.
There's also been a Doinby pick to mention there as well for FPX's mid laner. So Corki locked in as the final rotation here from JDG. And there we go, Zoom on the rise. We're going to move away from Yagao's win rate on the champion, looking a lot more positive. And if you want early access, well, we know Corki with the package can do exactly that. But Clement, let's break this down a little bit further because FPX all of a sudden have the all-in.
Yeah, FPX, for me, they played towards their style, while JD Gaming has been doing a lot of renovations. I really love what Coach Home has did right here. But first off, the standard from FPX is you get priority in mid lane. You have diving combinations, Morgana plus Olaf into the side lanes. With the Kalista, Fate's Call, there's a lot of CC chains you can set up in the side lanes. So they're more focused on the early game strategy, while JD Gaming are going towards the late game. They have the Corki, they have the Rise, and they also have a shoving bot lane as well. So JD Gaming actually doing a lot of changes. We've mentioned the win rate for late game champions on Yagao is actually just 0%. He's never won a game on Corki, Azir, or the Rise this split so far. They rely on him for early action, but this time around, JD Gaming are willing to make a risk. They're saying, you know what? We're going to match you in the late game. The early game, as long as our bot lane doesn't collapse, we're okay with it.
Look at Tian. I thought Tian was starting to pray there for a second, by the way. But I love how the LPL's been doing this. They've been looking at the split cams as Doinby and Tian. And if you haven't tuned into FPX before and you don't know why this team finished first, well, this mid 2v2 duo is turning heads. In this composition, as we mentioned there before, you have an Olaf for the early pressure. We know how oppressive Morgana can be. And we always talk about the roaming capabilities here. Definitely here early for FPX. And with the bottom lane, the setup there from LWX and Chris' ability to get in for the fight early as well. We know that FPX are going to open this series up. So as we walk towards semi-finals, there is the backline question whether JDG's miracle run can continue here all the way to the grand finals as 8th seed. or if FPX as first will come through and smash down their opponents in Jingdong Gaming. We welcome you to Summoner's Rift for our semi-finals.
I think the chants for Jingdong were just a little bit louder. We're still having the semifinals here in Hangzhou in LGD's home arena. While JD Gaming do have their own arena, it is located in Beijing, but they have their manager.
Not this time.
Yeah, always making it feel like home court advantage for them. Pretty equal splits for both sides. We did see FPX going in for a cheeky level 1, but was spotted out by JD Gaming Sports. They're now going to clear that away. And we actually should see a small EXP lead for the bot lane as LWX picks up the ward.
As you take out the ward. To be noted here on the rune choices as FPX start off with the counter jungle is Doumbé is taking the Glacial Augment. We know that with this vertical style of jungling, how the bottom lane can be influenced and what Doumbé can do with this early oppressive rune. So I guess we start expecting to see that mid lane shoved out nice and early and the bottom lane focused at maybe a level 2 mark.
Yeah, so typically we do see the Aerie because it's very easy to proc with your Tormented Soil, but this time Doinby is thinking about the team fights. The Glacial Augment is going to allow you, especially with the Twin Ghosts, to close the distance on enemy compositions far easier. So that's probably the reason for the rune choice. The other thing I would notice is LWX is going for Hail of Blades. Typically it is a split between Hail of Blades and Lethal Temple, with Lethal Temple being the better team fight one, but Hail of Blades much, much stronger in lane.
That's right. There's another thing to be noted as well, that Tian's gone back to the old Predator Olaf. So it's been rare that we haven't seen Conqueror on this champion for a while. We know that the level 3 gank can be so potent, it just further accelerates that early game for FPX.
Yeah, they're getting a lot done in the bottom lane right now, hitting level 2 before the opponent composition. They have the vertical jungle set up right now, so they should be very well aware of where Flawless is. You can see Gingun playing super safe to the top side. He should be okay for now. And JD Gaming, even though they have what should be the stronger bot lane, they can't do anything with it right now because there is Tian on that Olaf on their side of the map. They have to stay put.
Vision has finally expired in that bot side as well, so there's going to be an opportunity to start exploring down there soon for Tian. Floor still making his way through the enemy jungle and picking up the walls right now, but will eventually have to make a decision whether it's top or mid. Doumbé already has the shove out as we expected here against Yagao on the Corki, but a pretty stale lane in the mid lane so far, while bot and top are just doing their thing.
And I just want to spend this lull in the action to explain why JD Gaming made it so far. I think a lot of it has to do with Coach Home, because Coach Home has read the matchups between his team and his opponents so well. Against WE, the entire series was about early game tempo. So JD Gaming drafted for that, they went out it, and they cut WE off before they reached their critical mass. For RNG, they knew that they wouldn't throw any resources top lane. They picked Kayle, they picked Swain, they ran away with the mid-game team fights. So I think JD Gaming and Coach Home have always positioned themselves very well, very advantageous in the playoffs, and they're doing it once more in FPX. One of FPX's traditional weaknesses when they play with Doinby, or I should say the Doinby style, is he typically doesn't provide enough damage in the late game, and you can try to outscale him. Look at JD Gaming's comp now. Corki and Ryze going past 35 minutes. It's so hard to match that output from FPX's side, so they do have a very clear-cut win condition.
So for FPX, we know how they accelerate games. We know that it's going to be pretty stock standard here in this game as a must. But for JDG, coming back to Coach Home and how they've drafted this, Zoom in a very good position in the top lane. He's taken Comet into that matchup as well. So for FPX, they cannot doubt this top laner. They cannot doubt the jungle either, as Tian is getting frisky in front of Flawless's face. The Raptors will be started up here, but Tian looking to invade with Doumbé now on the roam as well.
And this is the key thing we should pay attention to. Doumbé is not able to leave lane. Yagao on the Corki is keeping him pinned down, so it's going to come down to Tian to actually free the Morgana up.
Oh,
FPX.
Hang on. Teleport's actually coming through here. Yeah, Tian's just bullying him out of lane.
Like FPX, they need to look for early action, and if Doinby himself cannot get it going, it is going to fall down to the Olaf.
See, just pushing out the wave, accelerating fast there for Tian as he walks past the mid lane. Yagao uses the Valkyrie. Doumbé threatens him down. Very good runner play here for the individuality. Yagao gets so low. Doumbé just forces him out of lane. That's exactly what you want for FPX.
And JD Gaming, they will force the teleport out from Yagao this time around. It is a brief advantage here, so I think the key thing we should note is Tian's motion during that shove out. Look at the blue side jungle. He instantly went in, dropped 2 wards there. He knows where Flawless is going to be. And the key component to FPX's tower dives is knowing the enemy jungler position. Once they're on the top side of the map, they can do a straight 4v2 into the bot side.
And here we go, FPX doing what they do best. They've begun already. Doombee's hit level 6 as well off that last wave, so now with the Soul Shackles in hand, Glacial Augment is going to be impressive. He's also got the Double Dark Steel with Corrupting Potions available, so there's no way here that JDG, if they want to contest, will take the full-blown fight. So Mountain Dragon given over to FPX at the 6-minute mark here. Nice and early from Tian, already on the roll.
And this is just so smart from FPX, using the vertical jungle early, reversing the matchup in the bot side, and then just playing off the strength that they have there. It's just small windows that they use very well, forcing Yagao out, getting all the information on Flawless, transitioning into their strong side. So everything's still going to plan on FPX. However, their comp does have a timer, and I do want to see how they get Doinby, Morgana, a champion that doesn't have the best mobility, really going into these side lanes.
Because you're right in the fact that Doombe at the moment still even in CS, so there's no strict advantage. Going up against the Sheen from Yagao, it's going to start hurting in some of these trades if Doombe misses the Dark Binding, but Shove's still there. Crisp, it's just so iconic. They do the same thing every game. Crisp has just walked up purely to get the shove off once again here for FPX. While the bottom lane's safe in LWX, he has a 10 CS lead over the lane that should be oppressive towards the Kalista.
And this is really dangerous for JD Gaming's bot lane. They're caught between a rock and a hard place. Do they shove out?
I mean, can they get the trade-off? There's a flash for a flash. So worth here for Gimgoon. He'll get shoved out, has the teleport in hand if he gets forced out of lane again, but Tian's going to take yet another blue buff off the side of Flawless.
Yeah, and if JD Gaming, they don't react to the bottom side, this is just going to be a straight all-in.
Hey, they might not even need the jungler at this point. Devour comes through, Imps at half health after one small trade, and Tian hasn't been spotted out here till Lumao comes in, taking Undertow to the face. Lickitung will just get a trade off himself. Imp and Lumao forced back, while turret plating's available here for FPX.
Trading bot for top in this situation is definitely beneficial for FPX. Yeah. They're forcing out the experience, and they're having this level 6 power spike timed up with LWX earlier on. If JD Gaming, if Imp and Lumao step forward, there's a very high chance they just get sniped out. However, they are willing to venture once they see Doinby showing back up in lane.
I think the damage is done though. Double turret plating here, 20 CS lead for the bottom lane.
It's a lot.
Gimgoon gonna lose one of his own, so Flawless coming up here is a must response for JDG. Gold is still even, but that's only for now, as Gimgoon will be able to remain here, even after spotting Flawless out and being behind 20 CS himself.
You don't really want to dive a Kennen. I think that's the issue
with
right
level
here.
Level 6, definitely not.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of turret balancing to really keep both Zoom and Flawless alive at that time. So very smart pickup from FPX. They found something that was safe alone in the top side, and also the Slicing Maelstrom does hit minions. So even though Gimgoon is quite far behind right now, he's 30 plus CS behind, FPX, I feel like they have the tempo.
They really do. Tian's still down there. He's continued the vertical jungling, enable Doinby to get down here. As Lumao devours up Imp, he'll spin him back out with the Chains of Corruption. They're looking for the spawn, the flash forward from Flawless. He's finally down here with the Fate's Call, saves the day while 4 members are on the turret. They get another bit of turret plating, but they have to expend a couple of ultis just to get out of the situation while Flawless finally makes his visit bot side.
Yeah, that was a great rotation from Flawless. He showed himself in the top side, instantly transitioned bot just to ward off the aggression from FPX. So JD Gaming, they actually walk away with the gold lead after all of that. 2 turret plating taken in the top side. They lose 2 themselves in the bot, but it doesn't matter. I think their jungler got a little bit more out of the trade. You see Flawless up in the CS currently, and they hold on to all their objectives. Still on track for the scaling route.
Okay, so you see yourself with Flawless and a bit of hope there for the jungle of JDG. Top side, 20 CS lead itself, so just coming back to top versus bottom once again. That FPX has been playing so well towards. Tian still hovering around that mid as package was used by Yagao, so threat dismissed. Doombe will once again push out the lane, and we'll see what Chris can do in this lane as well.
This is so fun. You see the bot lane from both sides now starting to roam. This is where I say the JD gamble really starts to happen. Lumao loves to leave his lane. He loves to go for, I would say a lot of times, risky adventures into the enemy jungle, but this time there's a payoff.
Can they find Tian? Well, the Black Shield goes down. They actually might find the extent of the Dark Binding. onto the Tahm Kench. Kim Goon even being forced out after 4 members show to the top side. First turret going to be raised here, but I think this is actually JD's.
Yeah. They're so far ahead, they're 1 turret plating ahead, and that's going to be another bulwark in the bot side for them to deal with. So JD Gaming should be heads up for them.
So you go, hello Zoom, hello 40 CS advantage, and gold towards the top side, while FPX eventually get this, but it's going to be forced out as Chains of Corruption not yet available here as an ult comes down as well. FPX underneath the turret tank up, but here comes the surge down. They'll find one, they'll find the other one as well. Ulti eventually comes out of Inf, but it's too late. First 2 kills of the semifinals over to FPX.
And they didn't account for the teleports. JD Gaming's bot tower was something that they should have given up. They didn't have any teleports on their own side, but the bot lane still walked upright there. So FPX had a clear lead. They were not going to contest the top side. They were going to go instantly for the bottom. They pick up the 2 kills plus the Drake. I have to say favorable trade for FPX. You're
going early game versus late game here in this first game, and FPX have it under control, under lock and key. TN picks up a double mountain here for FPX, so although that FPX will get outscaled eventually, you look at how these team fights can come through and be outplayed and how JDG could get misled.
Yeah, so I think the key play here is that JD Gaming thought that they had Yagao coming in first. Even though they didn't have the teleports in the solo lanes, they were banking on the Corki to come in and play a 3v4. That didn't happen. They probably mistimed that. So FPX, just with the double teleports, throwing things and getting their solo laners into the fight much earlier there.
Really smart timing as well. They knew that Yagao's package had just expired in that mid lane, so props to Doumbé for making that assumption that the rotation couldn't come through. He's actually even in the mid lane, but that's not what you're looking at. You're going bottom versus top once again, and Zoom almost with a 1k gold lead, just like LWX and Crisp.
Double Mountain Drake as well. FPX, they found their key to accelerating the game. It was pretty much given to them in terms of the objectives. And now it's JD Gaming in a scramble to try and trade back to open the map up and at least give them more long lanes that they can try to freeze, to farm up, to go later into the game. It actually favors them if they have a more open map. If there's longer lanes, it's harder for FPX to really find those tower dives that they're really well known for. So they're not trying to defend in a risky position, they're just trying to trade things off.
But living in the here and now, I mean, there's 2 turrets being hit at and chipped away. TN leaves the solo gold up to LWX, who is accelerating even faster. Imp's going to get the same treatment, but while the mid lane is getting hit by FPX. This is going to be rough because Redemption's now available for TN, so if JDG want to contest this, it is going to be a massive fight.
Ooh, Yagao gets tagged up by the Dark Binding, loses a lot of his HP right there.
Oh, Yagao almost dies just under the Tormented Shadows. Missile Barrage is starting to come out, but free gold still over to TN and the rest of the crew, and Doumbé threatening out of the lane.
Great poke damage coming out from Doumbé, really forcing out, and I think Zoom's going to get attacked by that.
He did. He thought he was on the edge, maybe not even watching. That's the redemption from TNU's, but to keep Zoom there, JDG should lose a little bit more after the turret.
Great outplay coming out from FPX, so that's going to be a 2-for-1 tower trade that they do accelerate the game even further with. All outer towers, aside from FPX's mid lane, of course, are now down on the map. FPX, that should guarantee that Doumbé is the first one arriving to these fights. They can always push past River far easier, and JD Gaming have to be on their toes.
You have to be, because Gimgoon's picked up 2 kills now as well, where the top lane for Zoom was just such an accelerated advantage. Now for the Rise, he's going up against an even gold cannon with Protobelt, who has ulti available, who doesn't have the TP, but is heading towards that mid lane as Rift Herald has been summoned to break down this mid outer turret, but they can't do it. Rift Herald will simply get the charge, and FPX move faster.
Very risky situation for JD Gaming to push forward, even though Gimgoon does not have the teleport. It's just 1 Dark Binding, and a lot of things can go sideways from there. They just get the single charge on the Rift Herald and back off from there. Looking at the gold lead, especially from the bot side, it's quite substantial. He's looking at 1,400 gold. That's over a BF sword in advantages for LWX. He should be dominating these later fights. Luckily enough for JD Gaming, at least the next Drake is not in their first.
Clement, I think that's the first here for the LPL, or maybe any region at that. Feel free to quote me. 2,400, all turret plating across the map.
That's a full house.
FPX. That's when you know that the early game of FPX is what teams fear.
Rotated so well across the map. They traded up in the objectives. They played around their bot side. That should have been a losing 2v2 matchup to get those Mountain Drakes early. So all of the game plans, all the early planning does come ahead for FPX. But JD Gaming aren't that far behind, though. I think that's a key thing to notice. They actually did not give up that many kills. Usually in the tower dives, if you give up kills, it's a huge thing, because you lose turret plating, you lose the CS denial that the other team's going to effect on you. But this time, they only dropped the 2 in the bottom side. They're still in a very close running, and I think FPX are finding it quite difficult to deal with the side lane split push of Zoom at this point.
Yeah, they really are. Zoom should be heading towards that second item as well, so it's only going to get harder from here. Blasting one picked up, so expect to see a Banshee's Veil coming second here for the Rise against the Kennen. Going to be pretty annoying to deal with in those fights. Well, Gimgoon just has to keep on that pace, make sure he can catch up on some CS and be just as relevant as Zoom.
Yagao is going to get spotted out, but he does have a good flanking position here. You can see FPX members scattering to the wind. They also have Rise coming into the fray. So this next Drake, I think for FPX, this next Drake is not 100% something they need to contest.
Playing precariously, Tien, just walking up to the water, trying to stop them back there from Luomao. Doombe with a hose will stop any further engagement. As Yagao, you mentioned, had the package, had a good flank, had a good angle. Still does through this mid lane with Cloud Dragon. Going to be up and ready and started here by JDG.
And if you look at the position from LWX, he's still nowhere near the fight. If JD Gaming really want to press it, I think they should be able to.
Doombe trying to steal it with a binding. Tien comes in with the undertow, but Smite does secure it. Well, this is the flank, Clement. On to 2, on to 3. The fight kindly comes through as FPX has the better position. Chris takes up the front line and Yagao can't get back in. Luomao goes gold, but they've already taken him down. Yagao falls at him. They're out of the fight while Zoom just has to run. Chris goes over the wall with the base ball. The binding doesn't land as Chris is going to take another auto. Yagao snipes him through. Flawless goes golden. LWX and Tien get caught out. That's a double for Yagao. That's 2 more for Doombe. LWX and Gimgoon have to get out. The mid lane is already dead. The rail warp in from Zoom. It's a messy fight as LWX will be the last one to crash here. Gimgoon is out as well, and I'm not even sure what happened, but I can tell you there was bloodshed.
Yeah, that was a really close team fight from both teams, and I think what happened is that the initial engage from Gimgoon, he tried to focus down the bottom lane from JD Gaming, and that part of the map actually got out fine. You could see that there was a lot of initial damage going that way. They didn't find the early kill straight off the bat, and that gave Yagao so much time to deal damage. You can see him going down towards the bot side. Imp does manage to flash away, and they don't find the first kill initially. They have to focus his support. That's always a bad position, and Yagao is just left to his own devices. He's dealing so much damage. 2 ultimates missing there from FPX.
Yeah.
Doombe doesn't find these soul shackles, and neither does the Fate Ball actually land a hard CC. This is a playground for Yagao. The solo laners of JD Gaming, the Dumpling Brother duo, just hammering it home against FPX.
10 flashes burnt in that fight. Woo. Everyone saved it for that one engage, and that's how it explodes. For JDG, we talked about how the advantage was going towards FPX with tempo, but this late game composition that you described, Clement, now for JDG being even at this point is such a good sight.
It looks very possible at this point, and we're seeing that the number of team fights each side takes. JD Gaming leads the LPL at second place. I shouldn't say lead, actually, but 3.54 team fights played. They are the masters of mid-game chaos. Yeah. They know how to deal with unexpected turbulence coming from every which way, and that was a great flash from Imp. Imp took himself out of the ramp, flashing, willing to split the team up, which is quite rare for teams. They usually want to back in the same direction. But flashing toward Yagao was a very smart choice in that team fight. And FPX's bottom side, after the initial push from FPX, JD Gaming's bottom side, after the initial engage from FPX, is able to punch back.
They really are. Because look at LWX, look what he's optimized him for. He knew how far ahead he was and went for the wit's end on Kalista. Now, rare that we see this item choice instead of, heading towards maybe the Zeal item, maybe towards something else. At the moment for LWX, let's see how that develops because he's still ahead in the lane. But you just saw Yagao and Doombe there as well. Butting heads. 2-item Morgana, 2-item Corki this early on though. JDG putting faith in Yagao here for the first time, I'd say, in playoffs.
They're surging ahead with this team composition, and they're going to transition into a 1-3-1. I think they have a lot of potential with that composition. Yeah. They can have Zoom and Yagao in the side lanes with Rise and Corki, and it's very easy to transition with Abyssal Voyage coming in from the mid lane. So this is the phase where JD Gaming, even though they're still behind in the objectives, they can start to control the lanes, start to control the map, I think FPX are going to have a hard time unless they go for all-in initiations to stem the 1-3-1 from JD.
Should be pretty easy from Doomby. I mean, he's at a good item point here with the Mystic Shadows picked up. Now a Spooky Ghost to be sent out. Baron's coming up as well, and a third Mountain. So a lot of choices here for FPX, despite what the last fight entailed. Cloud for JDG picked up before, and that's going to mean a little bit, but not too much if FPX start up the Baron, and at 20 minutes, here they go.
It is spotted, however. Now, JD Gaming does have the teleport coming in from Zoom.
Goes down so quick, though. FPX disengaged while looking for the binding. Onto Lumao, it lands for JDG. They have the front line available at that point, so FPX just back away from the Baron and regroup for Mountain.
That was a really good blue side trinket coming in from JD Gaming. They definitely were aware of the possibility of an early Baron being snuck. They spotted it immediately when FPX started it, and now they're actually going to see Tin backing off the map as well. So we actually see a proactive teleport coming in just to secure the third Mountain Break. You don't want to give that over to FPX.
No way.
That already have two.
Even knocking away at this turret helps them do that as well. For FPX, getting into their red side jungle is now such a dangerous task, but to threaten the third Mountain versus the Baron from FPX, I like the tempo play here. Continuing to push forward, and now they threaten after pushing the mid lane wave. Get ready, because it's going to be a fight for Mountain or Baron, and JDG have to make the call.
I think the Dumpling duo is actually out of position. Zoom was so late on the rotation. He wanted to shove that wave fully in, and he doesn't have a teleport.
And they find the slope from Doomby. The binding doesn't land onto him, but maybe the damage will be enough here. Force looking for the steal. They're going to play the 50-50 Baron. Redemption does come down. Baron at 2k. Force gets knocked up. Here comes the face call. They're still on Baron. They secure it. Baron over to FPX. First kill as well. They get the Prom, but the lightning surge to come through. Gimgoon wasted his ulti. As Yagao, he was the only one to pick up a kill. Everyone from FPX are out until LWX. Sees that Yagao flashes. He needs to turn onto Imp. The Kalista. Golden is Imp though. His chances negated as Yagao will just auto him to death. Second kill for JDG, but at the cost of that big purple worm.
2 for 1 in JD Gaming's favor. However, like you mentioned, FPX did secure the Baron, so I have to give the advantage towards FPX. They wanted to find a decisive team fight right then and now. They didn't really get it, but at the very least, they're not going to get 1-3-1 pushed in. They have the wave control right now. Just taking a look at the fight, really good fight on LWX. He does get the Rend even after the flash from the red side, does get flawless, and also a great Fate's call onto onto Imp, forcing the Devour early. I think Gimgoon, even though the Slicing Maelstrom did not hit anyone, it was more of a defensive maneuver, and it did allow the team to get away with only 2 deaths. So
very well said.
I think that's that's a pretty good trade overall for FPX. They did lose the team fight in terms of the heads. The kills, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, for JDG as well, you're happy that you've just taken away the third Mountain, and I'm surprised how quickly FPX actually reset to contest that, but not finding it, denied again from JDG. Gold's still quite even, so while we see the Baron, we need to see, again, that key word here in this series, tempo from FPX to break open at least an inhibitor turret to make sure that JDG gets shut down before they begin.
And the graph we're seeing right now is just showing the Baron control rate coming out from FPX. #1 in the LPL at 69.4%. Nice. Close to 70. They almost always get the Baron.
I don't mind that.
I think FPX really need to force a full-on team fight before the 30-minute mark.
They might have found Yagao and Force who have to scurry over the wall. Now, you mentioned team fight, Clement. Exactly right. For JDG, getting engaged on here is such a threat. Look at the top side of the map. Either FPX stay here, they follow up, it doesn't matter, but JDG, again, they're forced to make a decision.
The best scenario for FPX is really to find team members in rotation. They have so much catch potential. Look at Doinby's items. He's Glacial Augment and he has double slows just in the Icy Hose and the Twin Ghost. So they're trying to force JD Gaming to rotate towards the top side, but JD Gaming are staying still.
Hey, look where Gimgoon's coming. No, Clement, I want you to take a look because the cannon's coming in for a flank. JDG spotting this one out, but they're still sandwiched between. They find their jungler at half health, so FPX can't go any further. But Baron Buff has now taken 2 turrets here for FPX. Gold lead, Inners down. Still no inhibitor, 45 seconds left to go. It doesn't look like FPX will be able to achieve that with this Baron alone.
Yeah, so 2 towers taken by FPX. I actually really like what JD Gaming did there. They stood their ground and tried to look for the 5v4 team fight, but unfortunately for them, Doinby was too accurate. Flawless took a bunch of damage. They knew they couldn't walk in with Kennen coming from behind, so they had to back out. Not a successful defense. They do lose 2 towers in that push. But I like the idea. The idea was definitely there. They knew FPX was looking for a team fight. They were willing to play a bit risky for the 4v5 in that situation. So JD Gaming tried to go in, tried to meet them on the field there.
You can see why. You definitely see why. You've almost got your Gout 3 items. You've got a Fed Rise as well. So the Dumpling Brothers strike again here in game number 1, or at least they are going to the longer this game goes on. For Doinby, great position for Gimgoon after the start that it was, and the CS advantage that he does not have. Almost 3 items there for the Kennen too, so teamfight priority still looks to be in the favor of FPX, with Kalista now with the Guinsoo's Rage Blade. So there is a lot of hopping to be coming out of LWX in this next fight.
I have to say, I think it's actually switched over to JD Gaming's side right now. 4-0-2, critical mass on Corki. 3 items, already has a 50% crit ready. I have to favor JD Gaming in these team fights. I don't think the gold lead actually matters much. Now what FPX do have is that they have better catch potential. If you look at their items, they're not pure stat items, they're more about utility items. So you have to deduce some of that gold if it comes to a straight 5v5. And this is so smart by Coach Home. You have to remember, these 2 champions, Rise and Corki for JD Gaming, they have a combined 0% win rate. And that's over 10 tries.
That's right.
And Coach Home is like, you know what? I'm still going to pick this. It's because of the matchup. FPX actually lack the raw damage potential in the late game. So if we pick this way, I don't care about a regular split. I know we didn't do very well on these champions. It doesn't matter. This matchup specifically, we should go late game. That's so ballsy.
With how Zoom's playing, you're like, you know what? Now's the time to bring it back. You know, we're feeling so good, and we keep bringing up Coach Home because of the job he's doing here on JDG. We said it before, it's the miracle run for this team. First it was WE, next it was RNG. I mean, we've almost gone to a Game 5 against WE. We almost went the distance there as well. But JDG have been through so many games here in playoffs alone that for FPX, you'd be fearing the run that they've already had. And especially in this first game, if JDG get off with a bang like they did against WE, who knows where this could go.
FPX were on high alert. When I interviewed Doinby, they were not expecting JD Gaming to come out of the lower bracket. They're like, well, we thought it might be WE, might be RNG, but we didn't expect JD Gaming to actually be the dark horse of the playoff and make it this far. So they probably have to scramble to get their strategy together.
Oh, scrambling at FPX at the moment, though. So JDG trying to force them out. Chris almost caught out. Puts up the door, and FPX just trying to clear the wave so they can get ready for this next Baron. Tin and Gimgoon in a great position for a flank, but this side brush has wards in it that Doinby is not going to clear. Instead, crosses over towards the Pixel Brush and wants JDG to make the move.
And I think the key thing here is to really notice where Zoom is standing in this team fights. He could Realm Warp to the backline and just try to take down
They're not
Kalista.
moving.
Oh, he's going for it.
Okay, do we see the Realm Warp into the pit? Well, if you can take down Kalista, yes, maybe. JDG, there's a slicing Maelstrom. Oh my lord! You insane animal, Gimgoon. Falls can't halt to save himself. The fight's already over. Get Zoom out of here as well. Get him walking, because Gimgoon on Kennen is now an electricity of damage.
That was insane. 4 people caught in the slicing Maelstrom instantly wipes JD Gaming. That was the entire team gone in an instant. JD Gaming could not hold their front line apart. They needed Yagao to poke for the extra damage. None of that really happened. It was all on Gimgoon's back. He came in from a blind spot on JD Gaming. They didn't have wards in that brush. They didn't even need to use the Fate's Call for that, which is super surprising. Gimgoon just, oh my god, just shock therapy for JD Gaming.
So lucky he wasn't caught in that as well. There's still a testament to how JDG approached that fight, but Gimgoon's flanks need to be feared, and them clearing out the top side vision enabled the fight and now enable the Baron. FPX in the driver's seat once again.
They improved their gold lead up to 5,000. Before that, they were hanging on to just 1K against a scaling team composition of JD Gaming. They're like, we need a decisive team fight right now. I really like how FPX were playing the macro game. They knew they didn't want to go late, so they were continuously forcing the Baron, forcing JD Gaming to come to them, and they finally find the pick. This is the 3rd Baron try that they've had so far. and out of the blind spot, they find JD Gaming's Achilles heel. They just shock them all to death.
Clement, it doesn't matter how late we go. Gimgoon can always hit that fight if he gets the right flank off. So while FPX may be in a devastating position in 10, 20 minutes if we go that far, the possibility of this is always there as JDG get blindsided.
Yep, Gimgoon clears the ward, instantly flashes in. I'm sorry, that was actually all 5 members. It wasn't even 4, it was 5. The CC chain was disgusting. You have the Glacial Fissure going down with the Soul Shackle following up as well. Everyone's just dead.
Man,
like,
you know what, Clement? I'll apologize with you. I call it a flank. Really, a flash over the wall's not a flank. That was just Gimgoon going, come at me. So impressive power play from the FPX top laner in Gimgoon, who's now level 16, has the Void Staff. There's an unneedlessly large rod in his inventory as well. So Gimgoon in a very good position. So are FPX. Now can they break that inhibitor with the Baron buff while Gimgoon's not there with teleport available?
It's really about if JD Gaming can hold on during this Baron buff timer. The Elder Dragon is also coming up within 4 minutes, so we can see FPX actually have a very good transition from pushing all of the side waves, denying the 1-3-1, and then straight fight looking for another team fight right at Elder Dragon. So JD Gaming, they're looking at a quite unfortunate clock, I have to say. Like, the things are just lining up for FPX to make this work.
It really are. Yagao been caught out here, he's been slowed down away with the package. Of course you have to. Doomby still a menace, got 17 stacks on the Magi, so if you get caught, the damage comes down as this is just easy front from Yagao. Takes 0 damage in response and saves the inhibitor turret.
That's insane. That was a Cinderhulk and Gargoyle play Olaf, and he's still almost half health in just 2 auto attacks. That's the power of the late game Corki, and this is why this matchup is so exhilarating. FPX is trying to do it early. JD Gaming with Coach home, they know how they have to draft late. They're giving themselves a win condition.
Oh, but they finally found Yagao. Here comes the ulti, devoured up there by Lumao as they just jump straight forward. Fate's call into the side. Where does he get used? Chris sacrificing his life as they've already picked him up, but Imp is slowed down with GA not to be popped. Redemption doesn't heal them up. In fact, it's from the JDG side. 5 members alive. Here comes the Realm Warp. Who's in it? Well, the Slicing Maelstrom to deny it. Teleport to come back in, but JDG, I fear it's too late as FPX gets dangerously low. Imp is denied. He's there to get the kill, and the GA will be worth it. You compliment that teleport from Imp because that might have just saved the game.
Yeah, so a 2-for-1 trade, and they finally waste a lot of time from FPX's Baron buff. They defend their own inhibitor, and that's so crucial. That means they have a say when it comes to the Elder Dragon. It's going to come up pretty soon, and you don't really want to have a bot lane with super minions to deal with while you're looking at that Elder Drake. So I think the key point here is that FPX actually went in too far just to get the flawless kill. They do find the Dark Binding here, but probably not the Fate's Call that they were looking for going in on Flawless himself. And this is so well played by Imp. Imp is low health, he actually goes back and uses the teleport to catch the team back in. Oh, that was so risky on so many levels, but he does manage to make it work. They lose Flawless, but they do defend, and they do find the kill onto Gimgoon, which should be a big shutdown.
Yeah, it really was. 3 items on Imp already, so we'll see that the Elixir of Bloodlust, or whatever you want to call it, is in the inventory. Bloodlust, it was there for Imp, who, against LWX, is still down in items, but the Varus moving into the late game stage with now a Hex Drinker picked up is always good news. We'll take stock of the other items, because I know we'll have a bit of a lull. We've got a Rabadon's Death Cap from Doomby, so the item power spike starting to come through, and I say that because the Rabadon's at this stage of the game is huge. But had they just found Zoom, we'll take pause again, because Tina's just running right into the Rise, who's level 16, is going to be locked down as Ragnarok to come through. Redemption as well. Zoom is surviving for now. Everyone's committing to this play. Zoom will eventually die. Not able to take anyone with him, and that for FPX is a pick-off a minute 20 before Baron.
And they didn't have to use much for that. No ultimates burned aside from the Ragnarok, so this should be inhibitor before the Elder Drake comes up.
Yep.
That's a play FPX should be going for right now.
Okay, so inhibitor to break open the game even further. Doesn't matter about FPX. They're always going to look for the ingenious play. Ingenuity of FPX never to be underestimated. Still with a 5k gold lead at 34 minutes in the game. You mentioned it before, the Elder Dragon up in a minute. Choices here for FPX.
There's a lot of ways to actually play this out. There's a double objective scenario here, and looking at the teleports, FPX actually has triple teleports up for this fight compared to only 2 on the side for JD Gaming. Yeah. So what they could do is actually go for one objective and still try to defend the other one at the same time. Remember, they do have double Mountain Drakes so they can finish those objectives insanely fast and then still travel to defend the other one. So I actually think FPX should position themselves for Baron and be ready to just all teleport, all use their mobility and get towards the Elder Drake.
It shows you how for JDG though, they're still able to deny the positioning here off of FPX. I mean, Yagal's just by himself with almost 5-6 items now. We're getting to the point where the Corki is unbeatable as we'll be trying to find flaws in the pit, not meant to be. A lot more threat here in the damage output of Yagal rather than Doinb, but we'll see, because if he gets caught out like he is now, Chris can just find him and force him away with the Valkyrie. That means the mid lane's open. That means both neutral objectives are now on the cards as they head into the river.
FPX contesting both at the same time. They don't want JD Gaming to walk away with one.
They're not. They miss If. That was close. Chris jumps forward for the quick concussive blow, but might be caught out in the realm warp used by Zoom to threaten them off. That would have been a dead 80 carry. Very close call.
That was inches away from FPX taking double objectives right there. Imp did not have the flash available.
Yep.
And really close call. I believe they used the Devour earlier on Yagao as well. So if that landed, it would have been a dead 80
Okay,
carry.
Here's the race though, because there's a double mountain, remember. Everyone from JDG onto the Baron. FPX not going anywhere near it. They've sent their 80 carry to Elder while JDG pick up that said Baron. It's going down so fast with LWX and the double attack speed items. It's gone. Now, it's the fight that FPX are looking for.
Yeah, they didn't want to contest the Baron as Doinb just expended his flash to try and get that catch. Didn't really work out for them there. Imp managed to walk away. And for this trade, I feel like this is finally JD Gaming getting back on track with their 1-3-1. Look at where Zoom is sitting at the CS department right now. Already at the flame horizon, up 100 CS. There's no way Gimgoon can do anything with him on the side lane. All JD Gaming need to do is just avoid the team fight. They've almost been caught out multiple times in just that last minute. But if they can avoid the team fights, get the wave control and stabilize this game, I do favor JD Gaming post 35 minutes.
Yeah. I think we've been saying all game long at how good JDG would be at this point of the game and how we would get to this point especially. FPX's early game was so punishing and how the vertical jungling started and continued on so long for TN. There's been a definite focus around the mid, around the bottom lane like we talked about in Champ Select. It's just about getting to this point and Gimgoon just sitting in base with teleport available. He's not moving. Sitting there waiting maybe for the Rabadon's death cap to that final item or maybe just to pull the trigger close to now.
He's waiting for JD Gaming to overstep. They have wards in the blue side jungle. But seeing that JD Gaming wants to stay bundled together, he's going to just take a trot into the top side.
Yeah.
Pick up that CS, get that wave in.
So he'll move to the top side now, as you just mentioned. Elder's still there for another minute. Baron buff for 50 seconds longer. When do FPX strike? Because they're still waiting for someone like Flawless who is not going to walk blindsided into the axe.
This is really rare from JD Gaming. Remember, JD are more of an early game, a hectic team fight style of team, but right now they have the patience to hold on to their abilities. They're waiting out the Elder Dragon like you were just talking about, and they know once that goes off, they still have the Baron buff to push the waves off then. They're not in a hurry.
Hang on, Yagal's too far forward. Thank you for the Devour Loom, but as he spits him out, the support might give his life. Ragnarok down. Doinb gets the kill, and now in a 4 versus 5. Elder's still got 20 seconds.
They could actually just finish the game off the single push. Like, this is very
such
dangerous.
A big timer for Lumao. You're right. The FPX continue forward. Well, Elder is going to expire in 10 seconds here, Clement. Doinb looking for the binding, misses onto Yagal. They get a concussive blow with the Winter's Bite. Now for JDG underneath the Nexus Towers. Redemption's coming down. The hose out. They find him. The damage is there. He ultis out, but with the GA up and available as he comes back in. Can he survive? Here comes the ulti from Gimgoon again. Front to back. Easy as that, but JDG, the damage is still there as LWX walks into the fountain. That's it, Clement. You are darn right. FPX are just so powerful in the full-on fight. Gimgoon's done enough, he's already low. He'll get out of there. LWX with 1,000,000 bits of attack speed. Clean house as well. And FPX denying the miracle run in game number 1 as LWX strikes true with the triple.
I take the blame for that one. That was the caster's curse. I was just praising JD Gaming for being patient, for holding on to their horses in front of the inhibitor, but just one catch coming in from Doinby. They force out the Devourer, Liu Mao falls down instantly, and then they get another crucial Dark Binding onto Imp. Imp just was stuck in his tracks. He had nowhere to go, fell into the GA, and Gimgoon instantly follows up. That was so well done. They reversed an unfavorable position from FPX's side. And I have to say, Coach Warhorse and Doinby coming into this game, they had better macro throughout. I felt like they did what they needed to keep what was a more early game focused team composition on track. They were constantly forcing the Baron fights, trying to force JD Gaming to come into them, and they did not allow Yagao and Rise to walk away with the late game scaling composition.
That's right.
For now, JD Gaming, they're going to drop to 0-11 on these champions.
Yeah, that's right. The Rise is winless, but not this time on Yagao. You were mentioning the Corki before, but more importantly there, you go Zoom versus Gimgoon in that game, and Gimgoon on the cannon was just so impactful. That one team fight around Baron opened things wide up for FPX in a game that was going steadily even.
Yeah, that was really the crucial turning point, and you can see it on the gold graph as well. JD Gaming were about to take off, but not so fast. Gimgoon comes down hard, and it's blue from there on.
That's the color of electricity, Clement, and what a lightning game it was there for game number 1. For JDG, now getting back on track. We know against RNG, there was similar moments where you're like, well, this is just going to be RNG series to take from here, but it's never a open and shut book there from JDG.
Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate in the final exchanges right there, because there was actually a Quicksilver sash on Yagao's part. I feel like he might have expended it early. The Devourer is taken away just to get him out of the Dark Binding.
It's so hard to survive everything, though, from FPX.
I know.
What do you dodge?
I know, it definitely is. If you can dodge a Wrench, you can dodge a Dark Binding. So that's how Coach Holmes should train them from now on. That was a bit anticlimactic, but still a great game, a great draft from both teams.
Clement, I disagree. That was not anticlimactic, the absolute opposite. We'll send it back to the analyst desk to tell us how this series is going to build from here.
Oh my lord, that game! Ladies and gentlemen, we have a banger of our series on a hand already. Just one game down, and FPX looked so fantastic, especially just starting from draft. We were praising everything that they had gotten done.
I really think that the draft really FPX outdraft JDG. Why? Because first I predicted they will ban Kai'Sa, but I didn't predict they will ban Fane. And Fane, Kai'Sa, and Kalista is the top 3 priority of Imp. The banning Kai'Sa, banning Fane, and instant lockdown Kalista is a really great decision. And also I mentioned about Morgana, and I didn't expect Warhorse will grab Morgana and flex it to the mid and keep on moving of the Rek'Sai pick.
Yes.
I didn't know that Morgana mid can really prevent the ganking power of Rek'Sai.
Rek'Sai felt useless 10 minutes onwards. Like, there was no way for him to be able to access the mid lane gank, so when Morgana got the shove across immediately, you even saw Crisp coming in and essentially giving full push to Morgana, because level 1 was excellent. They were able to trade vertically jungling, so if you were Olaf here, you're like, okay, I get the best of the bottom side of the map, and I can now allow the bottom side of the Kalista and the Morgana to have full shove, full trade in bot side. Well, the Rek'Sai could do nothing. If we're talking about the early, essentially he was trying to gank and dive topside, but it was not possible for him because Gimgoon even took Biscuit because he was chugging potions. It was impossible to dive him, especially post 6. And then, after that point, you're like, okay, I'm getting full topside clear, but he's behind in experience because he's not picking up Krugs early on. And so Olaf was experience difference ahead, gold difference ahead. You already even mentioned it in the back too, where it was 15 turret platings. The early game was so damn good from FPX, and JDG were just trying to scale up.
I think their early game really culminated in this 4-man tower dive bot with the double TP. Just absolutely insane macro from FPX.
This really early on, before that play even started, was the turret plating starting to get chipped out. So Tien was in the bottom side of the map, making it easier for him. So if you just look at the CS difference, that was just getting wider and wider. Level 5 to level 6 of this across where LWX was able to pick up the experience for himself. So this was happening and there was no punishment across the board. And so finally they like continue to commit, and while Imp stays alive here, it forces Rek'Sai to come up bottom side, which reveals him on the map, and it makes it much more safer for Gimgoon to be able to play this one out safely. So this is one of those moments where FPX had that strategy to play towards bottom side, and it finally amounted to this dive.
Yeah, the double TP coming in. They dedicated so much to take this down, and FPX perfectly timing the tower. They come in with Gimgoon, and they execute beautifully. I mean, this early game was so magnificent from them.
Yeah, and because of what Raz mentioned just now, because of trading side with Olaf, and Olaf is signature and is really good at solo dragon, right?
Yes.
And just now we have the capture of the dive, and after 2DP, we got the first, we got the tower up, but JDG got the first tower, but it's not important because both teams get a tower, but additionally FPX got the second Mountain Drake, and this brings why JDG seems to have a better outscaling composition, but it still lose to the Baron Rush.
That was one of those moments where JDG had their fingers crossed, hoping that the second dragon wouldn't be Mountain, because it really gave FPX an option in the later portions of the game, where they can just start re-rolling it again and moving towards the Baron buff, where JDG had the stronger team fight, but they always had to have in the back of their mind that FPX could be rushing Baron, they need vision control at all times, so having mid lane push versus like the wards that they would have on Baron buff area, suddenly if you had wards on Baron buff, that would be far more beneficial. And I think that going into game 2, JDG will recognize the early game composition starting to just ram them, and they need to start having some early game picks, I think primarily mid lane.
I want to talk about, just now I said FPX really outdraft JDG. Is other than the points we have already stated, I also want to say that FPX is really successful in shutting down Lu Mao's aggressive support. He let him to play Tahm Kench. The previous series, he's playing Galio, Fiddlesticks, Leona, and Alistar. But now he's forcing JDG to play Tahm Kench. And because of Coach Home knows that, oh, we don't have Initiate, so we bring up the Pharros AD.
Yes.
But the Pharros ADR will be complete punished by Morgana E.
Yeah. I think like the fact that this game felt so lopsided to FPX, I was actually surprised that JDG had a real option to be able to win this game, because there was one team fight in particular around the dragon where I thought Crisp just really played that incorrectly. That they could have just been honing on one side and just been choosing. Either you choose to fight towards top side where the Tahm Kench and the Ryze was, and this was the fight in particular, and they chose neither options and really allowed Chris to just take free damage. So just watch this one through. Like Tabe, just kind of run me through what you would have liked to see here.
For me, if I were Braum, I will tell the team to choose just one side. Now, he decided to choose the bot side while other 3 teammates are chasing Ryze.
Yes.
And I don't know how to say in English. It's separated, right?
Yeah.
It's separated, and that's why they lose this fight.
So like this was literally when the gold lead had been erased. Like that was just, it allowed JDG to then pick up the rest of the map, of course with the Realm Warp being able to pick up the kills. Like full mid lane pressure immediately after that, and then you start to see CS advantages form in both mid lane and top lane. I was making the call in the back. I was just like, yeah, JDG has this one, but Gimgoon was a boss that one.
Yep, Gimgoon going to get the MVP off that last one because he absolutely destroyed every semblance of a lead that JDG had off a single ultimate. 3-1-11, but that's not what it's about. It's about the engages on that cannon.
Yeah, that cannon ult, man. Like, what the hell? 3 members, and it was just, he wasn't even at a flank, too. He just flashed straight forward, and he got the 3 members. This was the team fight that I was recalling, too. He was backing up the extra slows that Doinb had ready for him. He separated both Lu Mao and Yagao from the rest of his team. This was a team fight that I thought JDG would be able to pick up for themselves. As long as they had stalled the Baron out long enough, then they would have been able to slow play it. They had the poke from Kennen, and Rek'Sai would have been able to slowly carve them out a path. I think that was a great position that Gimgoon just shut them down in.
I think Gimgoon has MVP is the second criteria is because he was in a really bad spot this game. He was like Zoom was ahead him 100 CS.
Yes.
But he still can prove himself in amazing team fights.
That's one of the biggest things, because I thought that I was a little bit worried about Gimgoon on weak side, where he picked up the Kennen into the Ryze, which is a really bad matchup for the Kennen. He got shoved in, like there was constant pressure from the jungler as well, so he was trying to essentially force off dives. He recognized he was going to be behind the map like the first 10 minutes of the game, and then still finding those opportunities in team fights. We got to see that when he was on Game Talents not so long back off of the Vladimir play, play, finding himself in constant deficit. So it's nice to still see that trait in him.
Because one of the things that we also noticed going into this game that I'd like to talk about a little bit is Crisp on support. Because he kind of needs to clean up his positioning going into game number 2, because a few times he would take the wrong end of engages. He would go into the team fight. That first team fight that JDG turned, a lot of that was off the back of Crisp getting caught out. So I think that's the big thing that FPX need to clean up. And we're going to see if they get to do that in game number 2. We'll be back in just a bit with FPX versus JDG game 2.